Here we go. Recording in three, two, and one. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Nerdery and Murdery, a special episode. We've been doing some author interviews, and I'm really excited. This is where we dive deep into the worlds of the nerdy and the macabre. Today, we've got a guest who's not just an author, he's a longtime friend of the show, a cheerleader for Prime Numbers, and one of the voices behind Two Geeks and a Microphone podcast. He's gonna talk about his brand new supernatural Christian thriller, Spiritual Sight. This is a story of faith, fear, and unseen warfare that's already turning heads. It turned my head. In Spiritual Sight, author Stephen W. Boster takes readers beyond the veil of the physical world and into the unseen war between faith and fear, a war most of us sense but never truly see. Story opens with a failed exorcism. It's a moment of courage and tragedy that leaves one man dead and another missing. Consumed by evil he sought to destroy. Decades later, a young seminary graduate named Ethan Parker begins to experience strange disturbances, moving shadows, whispers in the silence, reflections that watch him back, and his faith is unraveling. And what he mistakes for stress may actually be the awakening of a rare spiritual gift. As Ethan learns, he can see this into the supernatural realm, glimpsing of the forces of both heaven and hell. He's drawn into a secret network of modern day exorcists who fight for the same darkness that claimed his mentor's generation. Guided by scripture, armed with faith, and haunted by doubt, Ethan must confront not only the demons stalking the world, but the shadows that live inside himself. Stephen's storytelling blends theology, suspense, and cinematic tension, crafting a world where belief itself is both weapon and armor. Spiritual Sight explores what it truly means to stand firm when your mind says run, to believe when everything you see tells you not to, and to find light even when surrounded by the deepest darkness. At its heart, Spiritual Sight isn't just a story about exorcism, it's a story about redemption, legacy, and the cost of faith. It reminds us that courage doesn't come from the absence of fear, but from standing in the middle of it, holding fast to the truth that light always wins. Stephen Boster, welcome back, brother.
Oh, what a great intro. I'm so going to quote you on that. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to put that everywhere. That's a fabulous overview. Holy cow. I am not worthy.
Oh, no, you are. I love the book.
Oh
And,
yeah.
and before I step into it, I have to ask. For
Yeah.
prime numbers, I put my initial in there because it's very important to me. It's my grandfather's surname. And the H is important because when I first did my first cover, they put Jeffrey Wright on the cover, and I said, you need to go back and put that H in there, dude. That's important to me. So is it something similar for you putting the W as part of your author name?
It is because there's also another Stephen Boster, I think, who is a musician somewhere. And then there's also a Dr. Stephen Boster, different middle initials. But
Gotcha.
yeah, I was like, yeah, I'll put that in there just to keep it from being mixed up. Well, Mike has it worse, because his is Michael Shanks. And so then
Right.
The
everybody thinks
Stargate guy.
the
Yeah.
Stargate guy.
But he's a Canadian hockey player and actor. Mike is not.
That's funny. But yes, that is why I put that in there. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, the book is really, really cool. I enjoyed it. Steve and I have talked before. I read This Present Darkness,
Frank Peretti.
Frankie Peretti. I read Frankie Peretti. I read the Left Behind series.
Hmm.
And I like stories like this where they do take the spiritual and they put action on it. They put, they
Hmm.
make it tense. They make it a story. And I think it's really cool. And that to me, I could be wrong in this, but to me, this goes back to the roots of C.S. Lewis.
Yeah.
C.S.
Oh,
Lewis wrote
thank
the
you.
Chronicles of
Yeah.
Narnia as
Yeah.
as his way of telling the Bible to children.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and we've just seen as it's grown from here. And this is a phenomenal book. I love this book.
Thank you. Thank
Um,
you.
it's funny that I think the second crossover we did with Two Geeks and a Microphone, we covered The Exorcist, both the movie and
Yeah.
the real life. So I think it's great. I love it. I love the
Yeah.
book.
Yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate that. It has been an idea that's been in my head for, oh my goodness, a long time. And then, when we were doing some of our crossovers, we were talking about writing and doing AI and working with books and how can we bring our creations to life. And I was like, you know what? There's no time like the present. And so Mike had started his, because I told Mike, and everybody who's listening, Mike is my partner on the Two Geeks and Microphone podcast. He got down. I was telling him to do it. Next thing I know, he was already working on his then. He was like, hey, I'm going to do this. And so it just became just a fun opportunity. I almost had it ready about a year ago, but then I had some other things come up, and then I had to do some re-edits, and then recently I had to do some other re-edits to the story. And I really enjoyed the process. I will say, knowing you guys, you expressed, man, you're going to start writing, and then I was like, oh my goodness, this is fun, because we could share stories, share what's happening, what's going on with our book, and what we're doing next, or adding something here or doing something there. Whether we're Jeff, I got to give you credit. I loved how you put like all your characters like on Facebook, and you did all that. I'm like, I got to figure out how to do that. I'm going to do that too. I'm going to copy you. Just saying, I loved how you did all that.
It's fun.
And oh my goodness! And just so everybody, I was already. We were talking before the show, everybody, where I was like, I love your book, Jeff. I love it, love it, love it. And so it was. It's been fun to have that camaraderie. Is my point with all of you guys. So yeah, thank you.
Can't see it, Zig. Sorry.
Yeah, he's holding.
There it is.
There it is. It
prime
was there for a
numbers.
second. Yeah. So,
It's so fun.
how long was the story in your head before you finally decided to sit down to write it?
Easy 5 years.
Nice.
Easy. So some of this comes from, and I allude to it in my bio at the end of the book, is I actually have been trained, and I have experienced different types of exorcisms. That's why I mention them in the book, where I can speak to. There's two types. I didn't go into super detail with it. I plan on, most of this was just introducing the world and the characters. But in the second book, the sequel that's coming up, is more into what is a truth encounter and a power encounter. Like what we see in the movies are really power encounters, and where it's the Catholic framework, I guess is the best way to say that. There's a rite, R-I-T-E. And I actually have copies of the older rites that they used to have back from the 50s and 60s. And what's interesting about those is how they do have a tendency to enact what some would call like a manifestation. So in other words, the demon kind of shows up. And how do you handle that when that happens? And I thought, well, that's a lot of people are used to that. But then I wanted to introduce the aspect of what's called a truth encounter. Now, this is the Protestant viewpoint of dealing with exorcisms. And a lot of that is where you don't discuss or talk with the demon. You get to the point where you're continually talking with the individual, and there's prayers involved, scriptures involved. You've got someone, a lot of times, it's not just one person in the room with someone who's a demon. Usually there's two or three other people, very much like the movie The Exorcist, where you have someone who you're training. I served in that role with someone before.
A young priest and an old priest?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. You've always got a mentor who's teaching you, because you cannot go into those situations unprepared. And it's something that some people say, don't even mess with it. I mean, in the pastoral world, or in the reverends who are dealing with this kind of stuff. But I thought, the funny thing is a lot of people, just because of how it's glorified in the movies and stuff, I thought they don't realize that, hey, this is a real thing. There are things that happen that we can't explain, and whether they may be, or some may think that they're demonic. There's a lot of times it's not demonic. I had someone they thought she was demonic, but really she was just dealing with split personalities because of a childhood trauma. And so you've got to know the difference. And I do applaud the Catholics for having a system for that. Like you just can't have an exorcist. It's got to go to the diocese, right, and get permission and find out, okay, could this really be? Because there's a lot of them out there that are not, but there are some that are. So I wanted to tell a story based upon not some of my experiences per se, but to kind of have a fun fiction framework to say, this happens. this kind of stuff happens. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And that was really a big basis of the TV show Evil that we watched, because you
Hmm.
had the church hiring a psychologist to go in and say,
Hmm.
is this something that needs to be exercised, or is this BS?
Yes.
You
Yes.
know,
Well, it's not necessarily BS, but is this a sick person?
right? Is this a sick person?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
do we really need to do an exorcist here? They did that, so yeah, they have the procedures. But
Yeah.
as you've gone, as I've known you for so many years now,
Yeah.
I know that you've written devotionals and faith pieces before,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
this is a full-on supernatural thriller. What
Yeah.
inspired you to make that jump?
That's
Yeah.
a great question.
What are your I don't want to say sources, but your uh, what was like? Did you draw from this? Oh, hey, that kind of gave you an idea in this. Your
Yeah. So
inspirations.
yeah, inspiration, sure. That I made a jump. So I I enjoy writing. The funny thing is I didn't enjoy reading and writing realistically until I got to seminary. Now I already have an undergrad degree in psychology. I already have an MBA, but I was really challenged when I got my divinity degree out at Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary in Kansas City, and I really enjoyed writing. And I was like, okay, yes, I can. I wrote sermons every week, for a long time, or when it was my time to preach, or if I was sharing the responsibility, and that was fine. That was great. But then I began to realize how much of my preaching I did storytelling. In other words, I would go through the scriptures and I would say, okay, here's what the word said, here's what the Bible says in this passage, here's what it meant to the first century Christians. How do we apply that? And I would tell stories to help apply it. I would find stories or develop stories. There's all kinds of resources out there. And I thought, this there people are so fascinated today, right now, today, of on the supernatural world. I mean, look at the TV shows we got.
Hmm.
Supernatural for one, which is absolutely a hoot. I know other Christians who are like, "Well, that's not what the Bible's like." No, it's fiction and it's fun. Yes, of course, God and Lucifer and how the whole. I love Dean, his character in Supernatural and all that. So anyway, so you've got that. You've got the show Evil, which I've watched the first season. I'm working on the second. I want to start the second soon and the third because Mike has already watched it. So we want to do a show on it. Should we do a crossover?
I'm all over that because we talked about it. We didn't do an episode on it,
No, we did an episode on evil.
did we? Yeah, I
Yeah, we
guess.
sure
Oh,
did.
we did.
We did a full
We did an
episode on
episode.
evil.
That's right.
Oh, I
It was
missed that
back
one.
there though.
Okay. All right. Well, so you've got a lot of people who are interested. So I'm not a pastor today. I still help with churches and different things, but I've noticed that in some places where I go, amongst where I live, people want to talk about, is this real or is this supernatural thing? People are talking about, ghosts and hauntings and, especially even with the Conjuring series that's been more successful than people thought it would be realistically in the Warrens and just their story. So a lot of people are really interested in these things, and so why not? Why not have a tool that can help people introduce them to that world, but in a way that is more in the fiction realm than the actual realm. So it can serve as doors if people want to ask questions more on, is this real or what's this like? So that was the jump. It was like, yes, I can do the practical nonfiction approach to someone's faith and encourage them and not be as this is going to sound terrible and people are going to give me static for this, but not be so uppity snootity as a Christian, because you
Sure.
have those and how they treat others. And I've always been conscious of that. And so what's a nice, fun way to have conversations with people? Fiction, storytelling.
Sure.
And so
Absolutely.
this was my foray into saying, okay, Stephen, let's start this journey. Just do it. I'm not going to be perfect at it. I am an amateur writer, but I thought you got to start somewhere. So why not?
Wait a
Well,
minute. Wait a minute. Have you sold a copy yet?
That's a great question.
yes. Yes.
I
Well,
have.
You are not an amateur writer,
that's true.
sir.
Yeah, I'm a
Because
professional now.
because anybody who is a member of your Ko-fi that has the book has purchased your book.
That is
So
correct.
there
Yes.
you go, and I would be one of
Yeah.
those.
Yeah, we really appreciate our sponsors for the show, and we really appreciate you guys just for being a part of it and just our friendship that we've had. I mean, you're right. It's been what, 2 years? Easy, I think.
Longer than that, I
I think
think.
3.
so.
I think,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I think you're
Yeah.
We're
right.
coming.
Yeah,
We are getting into the weeds. We're getting close to 5 years at this point.
Yeah.
for you
So
guys.
And
yeah,
I'm fairly
Okay.
certain that we met y'all in year one.
yeah. Year one,
Fairly
Oh,
it was the
certain.
beginning of year 2. So
okay. Yeah, yeah. Oh, what a fun ride.
Yeah, so you are
So
no longer an amateur.
I'm no longer an
You're
amateur.
not an
Well,
amateur
thank
author. You
you.
are a
oh,
professional.
Thank you.
the evil episode was episode 190. By the way,
Ah,
I would
so it
get that.
wasn't that long ago. Yeah, I didn't think so. I just couldn't remember if we did
Okay.
a whole episode on it or
We
not.
recorded it like a year and a half ago.
Something like that.
Okay.
Well, so in the book, the prologue itself, it hits hard. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a
I
failed
really,
exorcism. It's tragedy. It's mystery. Did you know that was going to be the opening scene from day one, or did it
I
evolve
did.
later?
No, day one. I knew it because not just from the hook point of view, but I wanted to set up something. I was inspired by Wheel of Time, the first book in the Wheel of Time, where you have this huge prologue, and you're like, "What in the world is going on?" It shows this guy's power, but yet at the same time, he's going crazy. There's this anti-hero, or not anti-hero. There's this incredible villain, and they're talking, and the way that they're talking is the villain is really smug, and then all of a sudden, it opens up to what this what the main character has done to his family and friends and the horror of that, and then ta-da, there you go, there you have it. And then now today, so I thought, you know what, having a prologue that kind of just throws you right into this world and would have the same elements. I wanted to have unfortunately, a death to show the stakes. I wanted to show failure of a hero character, and then also wanted to show that with the mysterious character at the end, showing there's much more to this behind the scenes than just a simple exorcism. And usually that is the case. There is a lot more that's going on. A lot of people think that the exorcism is the point of action. Well, everything's right there. No, everyone forgets what leads up to those situations. What's the trauma that the person has gone through? What's the habits, the hurts, the hangups that person has, and what causes them to get to this point and allow themselves, or they've made a choice. And so I wanted to get all that kind of roped in, and also show that in relationships there's always there's in these types of things, like think smithing, you have apprenticeships. That's the word I'm trying to find. Sorry. You always have apprenticeships. There's always somebody helping someone another. Either that person is a mentor to a mentee, or two people side by side taking a journey together, or
It's the hero's journey.
it
You've
is.
got
It
an
is.
older mentor who must die in that story for it to be
Right.
complete. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. So yeah, so
Sorry.
that's no, that's what I wanted. So yeah, no, that's great. I really wanted that punch because I knew what I wanted to do with Ethan's character at the very beginning. I wanted to show him his, and I've seen this firsthand with some guys who go into seminary and think, okay, this is God's call in my life. I really want to help people. For many of them, it's not this, some people think, well, they're just going there to be a big old time preacher and stuff. Now, there's some who may want that, yes, but most of the guys that I meet really have hearts to help people. And I've seen several of them go, okay, now I'm out of seminary. Now what do I do? And it's almost like, I don't want to say it's the extreme of a crisis of faith, but there is a sense of, I did all this work, and yet the world around me, how marketable are those skills? And to try to find a church. Not a lot of people know, but I mean, across the United States, I can speak of Southern Baptist world. Most churches, the average church is anywhere from 60 to 100 people. And of course, a lot of people see all these big million dollar. There's thousands and thousands of people. Over 90% of those churches average about 100 people a week,
Yeah.
kind of a thing. And they are just loving on those people. So of course you got 100 people. That's not going to, you're not going to make a living. You have to be what they call bivocational.
Mm.
And so because of that passion and that heart, I wanted to show that in Ethan, what I had seen in other people. I wanted to show that I've completed this. I've done very well in school, but now what? What do I
Well,
do now?
and with Ethan, the main characters we're talking about here, he feels
Ah,
so
thank you.
authentic in his doubt. Was I'm gonna hit the hard question here. Was he
Absolutely.
inspired by your own experiences of questioning faith?
Um, not yes, but not at that time. In other words, when I was in seminary, I had an incredible opportunity to join a church, to be on staff with a church that had 3,000 people on a weekend. And I won the Outstanding Field Achievement Award for seminary. And it was a great opportunity. And what was really interesting, I learned that world, but then I really felt a tug of really truly being the lead pastor of a church. And so I had the opportunity to do like a multi-site campus and pastor there, and it was great. It's a great experience. But then it was like, I don't know, there's still something not, that's when that questioning began. Is this really where I'm supposed to be? Or am I supposed to be doing this really on my own with some others? And so I did. Then I planted a church in the Kansas City area. And that was the struggle. It was like, okay, this is where I have a sense of peace. This is the direction I'm going. But man, there's a lot of turmoil going around in my world. And so I wanted to show that I knew that from that experience. So where Ethan felt it right out of seminary, I didn't. It was probably about 7 years later that I experienced it.
Gotcha.
That's a good question, though.
Well,
Agreed.
and it's spiritual insight itself. It walks a fascinating line. It's grounded in scripture, but it's genuinely creepy.
Yeah.
How did you balance reverence for faith and the tension of horror?
Yeah. So I am just now getting into the realm of Christian work and horror, Christian novel writing and horror. There's a couple of guys out there that are addressing this issue of how horror should actually be a Christian genre in and of itself. Brian Godawa is a guy who we've had on the show who takes a really cool theological viewpoint called the unseen realm, which I base some of my work on, not all of it. But he does a better job of introducing these characters from a biblical timeline of what really possibly could have happened. But it's fiction, and he's having fun with it. But we talked about the horror aspect, and then there's another author that escapes me right now, but he's got a book just totally about Christian the work of Christian horror, and so trying to balance that. Okay, what's reverent, but what could also be, I don't want to say true, but
Creepy.
what could creepy is, yeah, let's say creepy. Yeah.
Yeah, creepy.
Because as American Christians, we live in a bubble. I was talking to an exorcist once, and I was talking to him about just the American culture. And he goes, a lot of people don't realize, but the devil has limited resources because he can't be everywhere at all times. He's not God. He's not omniscient. He doesn't know everything. He's smart, but and he knows who God is. He was he was part of God's council at some point. But he also can't be everywhere, doesn't know everything, but he's pretty smart and knows human nature better than anybody else besides
Well,
God.
and what a pastor told me once is the devil also knows more about the Bible than anyone you will ever meet.
That is correct. Yeah, yes. Because I've seen situations where I've been in situations, witness is a better term, not been in them, but witnessed, where scripture was used as, and it was twisted. So it wasn't quite straight the word of God, but
Sure.
it was like, well, it's been kind of said such and such, such and such, such and such. So you really are. I mean, if you're dealing with a power encounter, a demonic thing, they're just always telling lies, and they're trying to get you to doubt yourself, trying to falter.
Well, I mean, you think about it. I don't want to say Southern Baptist, but the because this is before the Southern Baptist split and everything, but like during the antebellum period, scripture was used to advocate slavery in the South. I don't think it happened in the North, but we all know that that happened, you
Yeah,
know, and it can be twisted, and
it is. It's that
and
theme is
Jim Crow
great
too.
in the Book of Eli, the movie The Book of Eli. It's a great expose about that, about how someone would want to use it for their own purposes or try to sway people. Because just like Jeff, you were saying, the devil knows more about it than the average American. But here's the thing: a lot of people don't see the demonic in the United States as if you were to go outside the United States. For example, so I took a trip to Haiti, and um, this was after the earthquake, and what was really interesting is you've got witch doctors in the towns, and it was accepted part. And one of the things they would do is they would raise flags to what spirit, I'm just going to say that in general, what spirit they were calling on, and so what would happen is you would have two witch doctors in a location. And let's say you've got this one person who sets up shop at one end of the street, and you got a competitor that comes in on the other end of the street. And so what happens is they're calling on their witch doctors who serve as intermediaries for light and dark, is how they explain it. It's all dark openly, and that's my personal opinion and my experience of what I've seen. And what happens is the limited resource of having those demonic encounters, of who gets cursed openly, they're asking for curses in some ways, the whole community is watching. So if the whole community is watching, we're leading the whole community, and we're taking captive the whole community rather than just a one-on-one person. And so that's one of the interesting things about just where we don't see it as much in the United States, but you do see it more so outside the United States.
Hmm. Hmm. So you talk about this briefly in the book, but I wanted to touch on this because and forgive me if I mispronounced this. You use the Berean Standard Bible throughout.
Yes, yeah,
Why that translation in particular?
because it is entirely 100% free to use.
Gotcha.
And it is
Easy
a good
enough.
translation. Yeah. Now I could do my own translation. I know Greek. I know Hebrew. There's just a lot of work,
Hmm.
and
Sure.
other people have done great jobs. And I think,
L'chaim. I know a little bit too.
yeah, I love it. So the one of the things about that translation is, I mean, it's not a bad translation. It's free to use. You don't have to pay royalties on it. And there's a big debate, going on about translations and how much they charge. Like, so I can tell you from experience, or not experience, but I knew one of the translators of the Holman Christian Standard Bible, which is now the Christian Standard Bible. He translated the book of Isaiah and some of the minor prophets. He was one of my professors, and we were talking one day, and I asked him why is there like another translation coming out, and he said that's because the Lifeway, which was creating all these materials, would quote the NIV, which is published by Zondervan. They were paying millions and millions and millions of dollars every year to use those. But then when the Christian Standard Bible came out, he said the cost to create that translation was $400,000 at that time. So that's about 25 years ago. And so it was just, we could do our own translation. It'd be cheaper. And then we don't have to pay all these royalties. And so the Berean Study Bible came out for the whole aspect of, we need a Bible translation that can get out to as many people as possible. It is a good translation, and doesn't have any of the restrictions of copyright laws or anything like that. So it is why I went with the Berean, is primarily because of that. I knew I could use it. I mean, technically I could have used any translation, because you are allowed like 200 verses in a book in most of them without having, you have to still cite that it's whatever NIV or Berean or ESV or these other English Standard Version, New International Version. The most popular is the New International Version.
Right.
And because it is a great readable translation. It really is. But that's why. Nothing over fancy than that.
No, that's cool. I was
Pretty
just curious on that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
smart.
so in the book, there's a lot of realism to the way that you describe temptation and fear, and it's almost psychological. Were you
Yeah.
intentionally blurring the line between spiritual warfare and mental health?
Yes, I was. So in one of the things I really wanted to show was not only if you know a lot of the characters, a lot of the main team, they all had different characteristics of how they viewed the world, and they all viewed the world in a specific way. And what matched every single one of those was their own stress patterns, like being stressed. And what does that come out with? Someone who views the world from a very compassionate point of view, how do they react in stressful situations? And so I wanted to write that in. So, and then how can it have longer term effects, or what it is that it can create division within the team? And so that's why I really tried to get the whole aspect of if the team wasn't working together, or if they weren't there to help encourage each other and walk through together, through their stress, through their things, they would fail. And there is that in the middle of the book, there is another failed exorcism of what they tried to do. But that was meant to also lead into the big thing at the end as well. But I
Well, you got to
was,
have some pacing. I mean, yeah,
well,
someone's
yeah,
got to fall
right.
down. Yeah, you got to have that.
I love it. Yes,
You
you
get,
are right.
you got to throw them in the dungeon at one point so they can climb out
Climb
of it
back in
and
again.
win.
Yeah, yeah.
That's storytelling, sir.
Right. And so I did want to blur the lines a little bit because there is not all situations of mental health are spiritually connected. There is a physical component, an emotional component, a mental component. But there are some that are spiritually connected. And I wanted to show that. I wanted to show the stress of dealing with demonic influences, and some would say demonic possession, and there's theories on what's called oppression, demonic oppression. And oppression is really what I have experienced with people has been very much a can create mental health issues in an oppression state.
Well, you treat the spiritual side as both a gift and a burden. Where
Yeah.
where did that concept come from, and what fascinated you about that?
Um, a gift and a burden. My own personal experience. I just can be open with that. My own personal experience has shown where you can anytime you have a gift, there is in I'm going to get static for this, I'm sure, but there's almost like a yin and yang effect is the best way to explain it. Um, you know
Why would you
how
get static for that?
because I'm bringing in an Eastern thought into a Western viewpoint of spirituality, and especially within Christianity, you don't mix the stuff.
It's
But
Eastern. It's I'm sorry, it's Eastern. If you define
it's
the East as being like
well,
Germany and over,
is it
it's Eastern.
right? You could say Middle Eastern concept. You were correct,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
In
but
this day and age of people that get upset over everything, you're asking why would somebody be upset about that? Really?
Yes, yes.
But we see it every day. We
It's a
see
yeah,
it every day now.
but it's a common expression. The yin and the yang, the good and the bad, the balance.
Okay, here's one for you. Here's a common expression. I'm a man. Watch somebody tear me apart for saying that.
But you are a man.
Okay. But then you're going to get the people that say, but I'm misidentifying a gender. You've not seen the people that argue this stuff that you can't define a man. And I'm telling you, this is the world we live in. People are just like, oh, well, you can't define a man and woman that way. Just because it's next X and next Y chromosome, you can't define them that way. Yes, you can.
Whoa, you're, you're
yeah,
defying it. Well, I think that what they're saying is you can't define someone else that way. You can define yourself however you want. I think that's where the argument is.
I'm just using one specific concept.
Okay.
Everybody gets upset over everything now.
Everything.
It is too
Everything.
much of a woke world.
Everything.
Too much of a
Right.
woke world.
Right.
Um,
Well, yes, you're correct. So anyway, but the concept we're talking about is there is there are, you can say, pluses, minuses, there's push and pull. So when you have a gift, there is, I've noticed there's, and I've seen this in different people who have different gifts. One of the things that the Christian churches, especially North American churches, do is they do gifts assessments. And that's for what can you connect with that would really bring you joy in serving the church or serving the community through the church, or yeah. And so but you'll have an equal and opposite pull down, if that makes sense. So
it's like doing your stats in D&D.
Yeah, so
you can't take everything at 10.
Right, exactly. That's a great example. Yeah, so I didn't even think about that. Yeah, you've got
Oh,
so
they'll
many
get mad at
points
that
that it
too.
gets allocated. But what happens with gifts is every gift comes with some type of, I don't want to say curse, but some type of battle or balance beyond it. So for my example is, I used to have people tell me that I was a really good preacher. And that's only because I enjoy just the cool nerdiness in the Bible. I bring out all the little nerdy details of stuff and like, this is really cool. This is now to give insight. Now how do we apply that? And I do the storytelling.
mhm.
And it, what was interesting was some people, everybody, dealing with, I've been in several different churches. I served on several different staffs and stuff. And it was like, people thought, it was, I never, how shall I say this in an eloquent way? People thought I was after their job. I'm like, no, I'm just doing this because I enjoy it. The problem was that there were some people who'd be like, Stephen, we want to hear from you, not this other person, kind of a thing, as I think is what happened. And that's happened on a couple of occasions. And like, all I'm doing is I'm just trying to be faithful to what the Bible is saying and to help others with it and help them live their lives in love for others. And so anyway, that's kind of the balance. When you say, when you have a gift, is there a swing on it? Yes. It's almost like, this is a terrible example, but from a psychological, for those who are bipolar, for every high, you've got that low. And I've seen a lot of people, even in my own life, I have some things that I'm like, hey, I'm really good at this, but I also have these lows that if I don't monitor those, I have to be really careful how it affects the gifts.
That's all right. Welcome to Nerdery and Murdy, where we have the highs and lows, the ups and downs, the good and the bad, the nerd and the murd.
I love it. Oh gosh, that was a great question, Jeff. That was a great question.
I appreciate that. I'm with you on balance. I have a yin yang tattoo right here.
Oh,
It's
cool! I learned something new.
It's kind of, well, here, I can show it on the screen. Maybe.
Is a double one?
Wait, wrong arm. Nah.
It's on the wrong arm. Well, okay, from where I was sitting, it's the right arm.
Oh,
there it is. Yeah.
Wow,
And
that
it's
looks
a yin yang.
really good.
It's a yin yang with the, night and day, sun and moon.
Yeah, I like that. That's not your typical one. I like that.
I've had that tattoo for 24 years now.
Yep.
Simon, Randy, in the book on my 30th birthday, told me I was getting it. So there's a long story behind that. Won't go into it, but anyway, yeah.
Oh my God, I remember that.
That means you and I are about the same age.
I'm 54.
Yeah.
54. Yep. Sorry, we tailed off as we will.
Did. That's fun though.
As we do.
Faith-based horror is a very tricky genre.
It is.
How do you keep it authentic to belief while still delivering chill?
I remind people it's fiction. I mean, it's it is fiction. There are some things that are grounded in real issues, real events, but isn't that what all fiction is? Isn't all fiction? I mean, the greatest example I can give is I love Star Trek Next Generation. And the whole thing about Star Trek was we had this almost utopian world, but we still deal with social issues, kind of a thing. And that's what I loved about Star Trek.
Hold there.
Okay.
Not until Rick Berman took over. Rick Berman introduced the internal conflict because Gene Roddenberry,
Ah,
everything was perfect and it was beautiful. When Berman took over, it's
uh-huh.
called the Bermanization of Star Trek. When Berman took over, you started
Yeah.
seeing internal conflict.
So what was your favorite episode? My favorite episode of all time in Star Trek was the Inner Light episode where
The
Picard,
flute,
The
the
flute,
flute,
the flute
yes.
episode.
absolutely,
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
It's my favorite too. I think
Yep.
that episode brings tears to my eye. It's a
Oh, yeah.
beautiful episode. Beautiful. The end
Mhm.
scene where he picks out the flute and starts playing is just tear jerking. I love that episode. Love it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
What
a
We
lot of
Leave
people do.
Behind, DS9. What We Leave Behind, DS9.
Oh, so which one was that one?
The last one.
Oh, see, I didn't finish the series.
Oh,
I'm terrible. I'm a
Mm,
terrible
mm,
Trek
mm,
fan.
mm.
it's
So
so good, but it is a slow burn. You got to get
Okay.
through the first two
yeah,
seasons.
that's why I couldn't watch DS9. It was a
It
slow
gets
burn. I couldn't do it.
locked in. But you
Mhm.
got to remember, like Kira, she's a terrorist. She was a terrorist 2 weeks before they made her second in command on the space station. Like an actual bona fide set buildings on fire terrorist.
Yeah.
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 It's
Was-
like, and that's the way Homegirl played it too. It's like, God damn, she's gonna kill everybody.
Right.
So
So-
thanks for joining us for Star Trek DS9 talk.
Right.
We appreciate you for that.
This is what friends do, everybody. We just squirrel around the coffee table.
So, as you researched the book,
Yeah.
or was
Yeah.
there any research you did or any story element that legitimately scared you while you were writing it?
Um, y- yeah. So one of the things that I openly struggle with in demonic encounters and in some of the research is what how shall I say? Why some demons are allowed to go further than you would expect them to be able to do things. Like when I wrote the character of the girl that she where we had the failed exorcism and where she becomes a part of the main possession that's occurring at the end of the book. You know, it was that situation more than her as a character, but her situation was what I was trying to bring out. That sometimes you can be a really a good person, and for whatever reason, this bad stuff happens, and it's the ultimate question of why does God allow bad things to happen?
Okay, I know we spoke of this a long time ago. If you have not yet read it, Robert Heinlein, Job: A Comedy of
Job: A Comedy of
Justice.
Justice.
Yeah, yeah. I did
That's
get it.
exactly what it's about.
Yeah, I got it. When we talked about it, there's several Highland books that I have on my list, and actually I got which were the Audible ones? Which one did I get?
Stranger to Strangeland.
My gosh, you talk about a movie. I would kill Ziggy to have a movie of Job: A Comedy of Justice that did good. I would kill Ziggy for that.
I might kill myself if I could see it first.
Oh, you know what? I got the Audible. I didn't get the books. I got the Audible ones.
Oh, I think that would be great as an audiobook.
Yeah.
Let me. Now I'm going to double check that because now I'm like second guessing myself. But yeah, because I added several that you guys had said, so they're on my list to listen to.
It's so good. It's so good.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Robert, stop.
We just did a matter of fact, I was
Heinlein.
loading it up. An episode on like 4 different, kind of unknown novels, and I think one of them was Cat's Cradle. It's like, as soon as you finish reading Cat's Cradle, you need to go right into Job: A Comedy of Justice.
Job, yeah,
Job.
yeah. I gave that that comparison. Yeah, I think those two books are bookends that just strangely enough go together.
Yeah, I got several on my wish list. Stranger in a Strange Land is still on my wish list, though.
Great one as well. Great one.
Get the unabridged. Get the unabridged.
Absolutely. Get the unabridged.
Yeah, get the
Okay.
unabridged.
100%. 100%.
Gotta walk through walls.
Yes, the comedy
Sail
Joe
Beyond
Comedy
the Sun.
Justice was the one that I did get.
Job: A Comedy of
Sail Beyond.
Justice is just fun.
Yeah,
It's a
okay.
fun book, but it's exactly that. It's about why do bad things happen to somebody who is good?
Yeah.
And that's what he goes through in this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So that was one of the things that I was trying to start bringing into this girl who's innocent, and yet, unfortunately, she is being affected by this. And so I didn't develop the theme as well as I wanted to just because I had so many other things going on, but it's something I'm going to end up bringing up in the second and the third book as well. So
well,
it's a
no,
trilogy.
and
Oh, nice.
outstanding. I want to talk about some characters for just a minute.
Yeah.
Warren Michael and Ethan Parker, they form the way I saw it, they formed this beautiful mirror of legacy, one man's fall versus another's rise.
Hmm.
Was that generational redemption always part of the plan?
Yes, it was. Because I didn't want to have just a I didn't want to have just a hero or mentor, excuse me, the mentor, the old man on the mountain kind of story where, okay, here you are. I wanted to give him where it wasn't just someone who was um I'm trying to be careful not to give spoilers here, but yeah, it's going to be hard to do, but but I didn't want to just do something that was, hey, here's this guide, here's your hero guide for the hero, and then the rest of what happens in storytelling with those heroes. I wanted to give something deeper with saying, here there is a connection with these two, and where one the guide had to make some very hard choices early on and how he was going to handle those and how that affected others, and to bring that out in the story between the two. So, but gosh, you said it much more eloquently. I love it, where it is the legacy. And then I tried to bring out that legacy, even I probably even at the very end in that last chapter, or the postlude, where it was very much it was I don't know if you noticed, but it was stated, he will carry on your legacy. It was that
Hmm.
whole thing at
Hmm.
the end where your legacy is in good hands, kind of a thing. So yeah, boy,
Well,
good, great catch, nice.
thank you. And that takes me to Ethan and another one, the friendship between Ethan and Jake. That really
Yeah,
grounds the story emotionally. Was
yeah.
Jake always meant to have that kind of secret role, or was that a twist that kind of surprised you?
The Jake's secret role. Are you talking about the grounding, the brotherhood between the
Yes.
two?
Yes.
It was always meant to be in the beginning, and I based Jake on a good friend who's a neighbor in my neighborhood, and I even allowed him to read the book early edition. I mean, we're talking like second draft edition, and he goes, "You wrote this character kind of after me, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah." Now, and then the funny thing is he's agnostic, and so I wanted to show someone. I took that part of him about a science framework, but still someone who is faithful or has faith. Let me say it that way: has faith, and but also is a scientific minded individual as well. But also was a fun loving uh, kind of creative person who in one of the creativities in the book in that first chapter where they're talking in the coffee shop, he's making up words, and I put those, and it was just a lot of fun to have those in there, because even when I was using all my spell checkers and all my editing stuff, they were like, "Are you sure you want to put this word in there?" I said, "Absolutely."
I have that with prime numbers because there's some very specific words that are said in a nonsense way, and the
Yeah.
grammar editor went, that's not how you spell it. And I said, yes, it is. That's
Mhm.
Yep.
exactly how that
Yes, it
should be.
is. Yep. Yes, the discombobulator. There's a little bit of, in the making the fun words. There was a little bit of Phineas and Ferb, Dr. Doofenshmirtz,
Hmm. Hmm.
kind of a little bit in there about how he named stuff. And I thought, I may just do a little cry out to Doofenshmirtz.
So which character in the book changed the most from first draft to final version?
Ooh, boy, that's good. So are you talking about the main characters or side character?
Anything in there, just the
So
one that changed the most.
yeah, the one that changed the most was Commander Chen, and so I really struggled with what to do with her. I wanted to show a strong female character leader outside of the group that you work along. It's okay to work alongside. I didn't want to have a typical girl boss. I wanted to be more reverent. A lot of people just do girl boss shows and movies, and here they are. And I really wanted to have someone who that I could introduce in this one. And then as I introduced Commander Chen, I realized how much I had to rewrite the ending a little in order to give her the due respect as she carried on, and she carries on in the other books, the upcoming books. So originally she was just a side character. She was just like, here's Commander Chen, happens to be has her own team in this organization. And I thought it'd be good where she was very originally wrote her very put offish,
Hmm.
very much. And then I began to realize as it was working towards the end, how much I'm like, ooh, no, she's so much more. She has so much more of a part to play. And originally, I did not have in the big sequence at the end, I did not have as much in there about her with a couple of members of her team acting out. So I introduced it, but I didn't dwell on them because I wanted to dwell things from Ethan's point of view, so it was a little difficult. Because originally I wrote everything from an omniscient viewpoint, and then I began to realize I really need to write this from Ethan's viewpoint. So that was another major rewrite in going through the book. I was like, no, I don't like this. I need help. Let's redo this from Ethan's point of view. The only thing that's still omniscient is the prologue. I kept the prologue because I was like, no, this prologue is right where I want it. I didn't feel like I needed it because then I thought, well, do I do this from Warren's point of view? And so do I do that? By the way, you were asking earlier about Stephen W. Boster. The W, my middle name is Warren, and my brother's name is Michael.
There you go.
So there's another fun little tidbit.
So as you were writing the book, were there any moments that were genuinely difficult to write? Either emotionally, spiritually, or personally?
Yeah. So writing stress is stressful. When you're, for me, writing, it was very difficult to write the characters failing. I struggle with that, but you have to, as part of storytelling, you have to show their weaknesses. You have to show, that you have to show some kind of growth and stuff. And when I first started, my first draft, I was like, everybody, yeah, we're rocking and rolling. And I'm like, no. Once I got to it, I was like, no, they've got to show their humanity of who they are. And, and
They have to
so,
fall down before they can get back up.
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
They
yeah,
have to.
yeah.
Otherwise, it's not a good story.
Right. You're right. And so, of course, as I, learning how to write and learning about storytelling, those are some of the things I learned. And so, because, I really enjoy these characters. I mean, I did them, I wrote all of them with a purpose in mind. And I wanted to show for the team, each one, I was very specific on their personality type, and then as well as also how they viewed the world, and also how they show distress patterns. In the book, you remember how Warren Michael would address some of the team members, and I specifically did it. I know it kind of killed some of the pacing at times, but I did it for a reason, to show that it was like you have a leader who's in tune with every single person of that team and knows exactly what to say to reorient them outside of their distress of what's happening. And so I did that with a purpose to show that here is the struggle that they're facing, but that there's a way out of it. But that was when Warren Michael came involved. If you remember, they started exhibiting the same distress patterns as they did in their failure. And then you had a leader who was the mentor to Ethan at this time, and realizing that, oh, it's it's they are not their distress pattern. They are what's behind that. They let's highlight who they are from a positive standpoint to help them reinforce who they are or how they are made. Even though they're all different, they're made differently. But it was how can we show that gives them strength?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so that was kind of the point. But to do that first failure where they go, where you've got the girl and then you've got, here comes Blackwood at the at the end of that, and like, what are you doing? How did you show up here so quick? Kind of a thing. But they were at their worst. They were at their defeatist moment. And that was hard to write. That was the most difficult, because anytime for me writing stress, you almost have to put yourself into that situation in order to say, okay, how am I feeling? And then how would this character feel in this? And then it takes a lot of energy to do that. For me, it did.
Hmm. Hmm. No, I absolutely understand that. Because I mean, something you said, it just reminded me. If you go into prime numbers, a sequence I had always seen that I had to put in there is the scene when they come back to Rook's and they all sit down and eat. And the banter that happened between the group, I had to
Yeah.
show that even in this world, this was still this group of friends.
Yeah.
Even though Whisper at the very front of that moment, he's all pissed off, sulking in a corner. Eventually, he comes to the table, and it's just those friends still together because
Yeah.
it's that bond.
If
It's
if
that
if
bond.
you yeah if you ever meet our friend Don, he
Done.
stands up when he eats.
Yeah.
He does,
Sometimes, not always.
and
Sometimes.
he's talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's probably great at parties because he's sitting there
He
milling around
is.
with everybody and he's just eating and going around.
Yep.
That's
He
awesome.
is. He
Yep.
is the best.
Oh gosh.
So
Yeah.
so I'm going to go into some background stuff here, kind of the behind the scenes of the book, and
Yeah.
when I came up this I came up with this question because of what I've done with this, but I'm going to ask you, if Spiritual Sight had a soundtrack, what
Uh-huh.
track would be playing during Ethan's final confrontation?
So what kind of soundtrack? What kind of
What music, what
category?
song? I mean, if
Uh-huh.
when you see his final confrontation, what
Mm-hmm.
song? If this was a movie, what song would be perfect for that
Mm-hmm.
scene?
Oh, that's a great question.
Carry on, my
Um,
wayward son.
um,
No, I don't. I
no.
don't see that one.
It's the what's the oh gosh, it's killing me. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's the soundtrack right in Thor, the one where he's not the first one, not the one before Love and Thunder, the one where
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok, where then he's in full lightning mode.
Oh, you're talking about the immigrant song.
Ah,
The
Yeah,
immigrant
immigrant
song.
song. We
yes.
Led
come from the
Zeppelin,
land
the
of the ice
immigrant
and
song.
snow with the wind.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
Led
yeah.
Zeppelin.
That's yeah. That's the one. That's the one because I mean, obviously there's this epic build and stuff, but it is now you get to the point in that last confrontation where now I mean, it's obvious that the tide is turning now at this point, and I wrote that for a reason. I wanted to show, without giving too much away, I wanted to show that even in the darkest moments, there's still some hope somehow, some way. And even at the last where we think all is lost, it's never lost. And so I tried to give a point where for those that the big thing about spiritual warfare a lot of times is prayer. And I didn't bring that too much in this book because I was still introducing everybody, but I wanted to spend the second book more dealing with the lore, if that makes sense, rather than the first. And in that, but I gave a glimpse that there's prayer that happens and it sets off a chain of events. And so that's what I wanted to show, that even when you think everything's lost, it isn't. And I've lived that in my own life where I've lost what I deemed at that time everything. And there was one thing that kept me through it all was my faith, and that's what helped. And I wanted to show that element in the end, if that makes sense,
Absolutely.
because
Absolutely.
and that ending is what I always knew where I wanted to go with the book. And that was always, I already knew where I was headed, and so it was just a matter of getting there.
That's so funny because that's exactly where I had the biggest problem. I knew exactly where I wanted to start. I knew where the book was going to end, and I struggled everything in between.
Yeah.
I had to connect those two somehow. And that actually leads me into my next question as well, because for me, a lot of the writing took place in the middle of the night. And when I say middle of the night, midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
because I would suddenly wake up once I got that passion, that hit in that I had to complete this, I would
Uh-huh.
wake up in the middle of the night and just start writing. So for you, were
Yeah.
you a late night typer, early morning coffee and prayer, or whenever the
Yeah.
music hits?
Um, so I dedicated time on the weekends, if that makes sense. Just the week is just for me was just crazy. Now, there, I want to come back to you here in just a minute because there's something interesting that I want to follow up with you on that. The but so I would dedicate time, and so what I did was I sat at my desk and I knew it was going to take me a minimum 20 minutes to an hour to get back in the groove. And I decided I'm just going to have to do that. But once I was in the groove, it was great. I was like, this is fun. All right. And like, and I had to keep telling myself, Stephen, don't edit right now. Just write. Don't edit. Don't edit. Because that's how I used to be. I was just very much, I would go edit and then I would forget something. Oh no, that was such a good idea. What was that? I forgot, kind of a thing. And so I would just write. And what is it they say? You never show Harlan Corbin. I watched him do a teaching on because I'm trying to learn how to be a better writer, and I watched his BBC Maestro thing, and it was so funny. He's like, "Yeah, you don't even show your own mother your first draft." But I want to come back. The reason why you got up in the middle of the night, though, is there's a guy by the name of Ryan Doris, who is a practical applicator of a book called Flow. And he talks, what I like about Ryan Doris is he puts it kind of in lay terms on the science of flow, of how do you get the most productive out of you, and what does the chemical brain do? Where can you, when are the best times for people? He says one of the interesting things is he talks about is when you first wake up in the mornings, or when you're up and when you're first waking up, let me just say in the middle of the morning or in the middle of the night when you wake up, he goes, your brain is still connected to your REM sleep. And because of that, you're more creative. You've got more creative energy because you're tied into that. It's also why memory experts will say, like those who do like lucid dreaming and things
Hmm.
like that, when you do training for that, they tell you as soon as you get up, keep a journal by your right by your bed,
Yep.
and get a nice pen. Let's treat it you want to treat it with respect. And he goes, and then you just hurry up and write down what it was you were dreaming, and then it helps you remember and have better, you begin to get better recall. And that I was studying it for memory, not necessarily for lucid dreaming, but it was just an interesting thing aspect of where, when is our best creative time, and getting out of what I guess Ryan Doris calls it cognitive load,
Hmm.
and where you get bogged down with everything that you got to do today, that you begin to lose that. So kudos to you, man. Get in the middle of the night. I don't know if I could do that or not.
There were times I wrote literally till 5 o'clock in the morning, and I thought, oh my gosh, I got to get one more hour sleep. I just got to sleep for one more hour because I got to work in it. I got to work in 2 hours. You
Yeah.
know, so
Right.
and my
Yeah.
boss asked me not too long ago. He's like, "Where do you find the time for all this?" And I said, "In the middle of the night, just when I do it."
Yeah, I'm part of a communication cohort, and we were talking, and it was the it was the Tuesday after I released my book earlier the Wednesday, and they're like, Steven, they said the same thing. How do you have time for that kind of a thing? And it's just you learn to make time. It's
Absolutely.
amazing how much time you have when you don't watch TV.
Sure.
Like,
What?
or scrolling on a, what they call it, doom scrolling.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
Or watching TV and doom scrolling.
yeah, I took 10 years off of college. I left college and I took 10 years off and then I went back. And the first class I took, the professor had us do a 3-day assignment. We took a piece of paper home that had 3 days and every hour was notated. And he said, I want to know every hour what you're doing, every single hour, and you write it down. And when we came back, we went through all these and he says, okay, so most of you here in my class are older adults. When you tell me you don't have time, let's now look at your list. And I saw all this time when I was like,
Oh,
oh my God, there's an hour, there's an hour, there's an hour, and I learned, but when I went back to college, I spent 4 years of not watching TV. Do you know what I missed while I was back in
Battlestar
college?
Galactica.
Yep.
oh,
I
Yeah.
missed
really?
Battle.
Oh my God, we were like, dude, watch it.
And I said no. I said no to TV for 4 years because I was like, I'm going to use
Wow.
that to study. And because that was my biggest time kill was sitting in front of a TV. And so I used that to study and get through college. I mean, that's how I got through college in 4 years with a full-time job on top of it, you know?
Mhm.
And
Mm.
so it's just there's time. You just got if it's important enough to you, you'll find it. You'll find it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you ever hit a
And you can
point?
stream everything now. So
Yeah, I mean, I've gone back, of course, and watched it, but did you ever hit a point where you thought, I just can't finish this? And
Yeah.
what pulled you through it?
Yeah. I took a break from it.
I
Some
have to
people
do
ask,
that. I have to
do
do
you?
that. Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you?
I haven't looked at it in
Yeah.
like a week. It's like, no, no, I need to leave it alone.
Yeah. Well, I, uh, there came a point where I was working on it and I was getting self-conscious about some other things in life and, dealing with some mental stuff. And when I started writing, because I felt like, oh, I've got to finish this. I'm one of those that, if I can't get to it, or if I don't feel like I have time for it or something, I'll get stressed. I have time structure issues, and so what happened was when I came to it, I'm like, I noticed that for myself, I don't seem to get any farther with it. This doesn't seem fun. This is hard, and then I had to tell myself, well, sometimes work isn't fun and you have to trudge through it. But I realized what I really needed was just take a break.
Hmm.
And so it was in between drafts. I had to do it was like another draft. I was like, okay, I got to make my edits based upon, using some tools to help me with editing. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do this right now, and I don't want to. And so I just took a break. I gave myself permission, saying, you know what, rest is productive. I had to hear that. That was the thing. So I don't remember where I read that or saw it maybe I was doom scrolling and I saw it, but it was the permission that rest is productive. And I'm like, you know what? That's where I'm at. I need to take a break. I need to rest. So
And I feel so sorry for Zig because Zig went through over 10 years of listening to me at multiple times over that 10 plus years going, hey, Zig, I picked up the book. I'm starting writing again. And he just went, do it, man. Go for it. And never once said, hey, where are you? He just cheerleaded me on every single because I would put it
that's
down
awesome.
and then I would just come back to it later. And when I would come back to it, hey, I'm writing this again. He was just right there. And
Yeah,
and I thought that was
that's
really cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zig, you're a cool guy no matter what Darkwing says about you.
Hey, fuck that guy. He's crazy.
He is crazy. He is crazy.
I wrote him that way.
Oh gosh.
So, so what advice would you give to other Christian wannabe authors or creatives who want to explore darker, more challenging subject matter?
Do it. Do it. Take the steps. Do it. Um, so one of the things you got to balance though in that is you're not really focusing on the macabre as much as you're focusing on the redemption story. And the macabre is just the environment, for lack of a better term. It's a character in the film openly or in the book. It's just it. And so but
your heroes have to struggle against something.
Sure.
yeah, yeah, and it gives a sense of stakes. You know, it's very. I mean, again, that's why with some of the opening, I spent a lot of time on the opening. I wanted it to be as it is. You know, that there is a loss. It is a little gruesome, and it doesn't seem. It's more. I tried not to glorify the gore, if that makes sense,
Hmm.
but I
Hmm.
wanted to make it a character so you knew this is serious stuff. Because a lot of times there's you know these young pastors and stuff that I've seen in my life where they treat some of the supernatural stuff as um, oh, it's no big deal. We've got, you know, greater is he who's in me than he who's in the world, you know, scripture, which is important scripture. But you've got to be reverent. You can't just walk into these situations and be like, yeah, because I mean, they do damage, plain and simple.
Well, and something Zig talked about, I'll talk about a couple of series of books here that ride dangerously close to the edge of characters that everything goes their way. And sometimes it's like, come on now. You got to have something. Now, granted, in each of these series, I'll mention them in a minute. In each of these series, the main character does eventually have some weakness and does eventually fall and then come back, but they're so dangerously close because of how good they are. And the first one is um it's the Edwin Drood series of books, and it's about uh it, I'm trying to remember what they are. They're the Droods, but they're this supernatural family basically, and all the books are they're tongue in cheek titled after James Bond movies. There's like The Druid Who Killed Me, or it's something like that. There's a whole bunch of books. They're a lot of fun, but Edwin Drood sometimes is just so powerful and so good. You just go, come on. The other one, and it's one of my favorite series, The Stainless Steel Rat.
The stainless steel what?
The Stainless
Stainless
Steel
steel
Rat.
rat. Yeah,
So,
he always gets away with it.
yeah, James DeGriz, he just all sometimes it's just too easy for him to do what he needs to do, but he does have some fall moment. But those are two series that come to mind when I think about that, about series where it's dangerously close to your lead character not having a fall to
Hmm.
keep you along with it, because you have to have that fall. You have to have that fall to make you emotionally invested, like you talked about with Prime Numbers, with Primus and Darkwind in their part of the story. You're emotionally
Hmm.
involved, and their fall, it hurts.
It did. Yeah.
Um, go to Stephen King, because Stephen King is a phenomenal world builder and character builder. Some people can't read his stories because they're a slow burn at first, but if you can sit through his stories, by the time you hit the
Hmm.
middle, when the conflict happens, you are so emotionally involved with those characters, you just
Hmm.
can't take the bad things that are
Yeah.
happening to them.
Yeah.
Frank E. Peretti, when I first wrote or read This Present Darkness,
Darkness.
I was so, I'm going to tell on myself here. I was so engrossed in what was happening with the main character and the problems he was having. I met my youth minister for coffee, and he was saying prayers, and I caught myself saying, "Let's pray for the main character of the book." Because I was emotionally involved with the character,
Oh
and
my
that's when you
gosh.
know you have a good story. So you've got to
Right.
be very, very careful to not make everything work out for your characters. Things
Yeah.
have to be tough. Things have to be to not be easy, or you're gonna lose readers.
And
Like I
don't be
said,
afraid to kill them off.
you can't be afraid to. It
Yeah.
happened. It happened. Darkwing dies in book two. So, oh wait, I'm sorry. No, yeah, you can't be afraid of it. You can't be afraid for your character to experience loss. It doesn't necessarily have to be death, but if they experience great loss, that
Hmm.
that can really, really make a great character.
Hmm.
Great character.
Yeah. Even at the end of the book, when there's, you know, some loss that happens, it was, it had purpose. I try to show purpose behind it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And, in the acceptance of it, and how even though that it's purpose, we still struggle with that loss. And yeah, so
Awesome.
yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I've got a new segment I came up just for you. This is called Lightning Round.
Okay.
All right. So
Lightning round.
quick answers here. Favorite Bible
Okay.
verse for courage.
Favorite be strong and courageous, Joshua 1:8.
Go-to writing beverage.
Ooh.
Okay. Lightning, come on,
Okay,
quickly.
lightning. Right. Well, right now it's not coffee. It is. I'm hooked on Shasta, Dr. Shasta, the free kind, but I throw in some grenadine with it.
Movie monster you'd least want to face.
Ooh, Godzilla.
Dream casting for Ethan and Warren if Spiritual Sight was a film.
Dream casting for that?
Yep.
Oh, ooh, Ryan Gosling.
How about for Warren, Ethan and Warren?
Oh. So that was for Ethan. For Warren, call me crazy, but Liam Neeson.
Outstanding. Last but not least, one word that sums up Spiritual Sight.
Hope.
Fantastic.
That was fun.
I came up with those. I thought it would be fun just to do those. I have literally one last question.
Sure.
What do you hope people are talking about after they read Spiritual Sight?
I want them. I want them to really start looking in and researching the unseen realm. That's what I want. That's what I'm talking about. It's not necessarily about, oh, I want to talk about my book and get out there and tell a little bit about my book, which, yeah, would be great, would be nice. But really, it's meant to be the gateway drug to get into really the supernatural world that we don't talk about a whole lot in America. And there's a great book. Oh gosh, where did I put it? I just rearranged everything. But there's a book called The Unseen Realm by Dr. Michael Heiser, and they just released a couple of weeks ago, last month now, a new expanded edition which adds like 30,000 more words to it. It is a balance between a scholarly work and a popular written book, and it is this guy's treatise, his theological framework on the unseen realm that got started when he looked at the Hebrew. He was an expert in Semitic languages, and so you're talking Ugaritic or gosh, I can't even name them, but ancient Hebrew, all those, that time period, and in Psalm 82 in the very beginning, what really struck him was God had his place among the gods, the Elohim. And what was interesting about that was he's like, wait a minute, we're not polytheistic. So what are we talking about here? And he talks
Judaism
about
isn't monotheistic. It's monotheistic for us.
it. It is a how the way he positions that. I think what you're saying, and maybe saying the same thing, is there's a divine council, if that makes sense. And so there are different beings. It's not just angels and demons. There are supernatural beings that have different purpose and roles of what they do. And so then he begins to look at from the Old Testament and even into the New Testament and even in the book of Enoch, where book of Enoch is referenced in the New Testament, but it's not part of the canon, and there's certain rules for that, which is no big deal. But he says it's still just like in the Catholic Bibles where you have the pseudepigrapha, they're good for history and they're good for introducing and helping understand concepts. He said the Book of Enoch is just like that. I'm
Go back to
oversimplifying.
what you just said. The pseudo what?
Pseudepigrapha.
I thought it was called the Apocrypha.
It is called the Apocrypha. I'm sorry.
Oh,
The
okay. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, my brain went to pseudepigrapha because the Book of Enoch is a pseudepigraphal writing.
Yes.
Enoch
Yes.
obviously did not write it, and so it's attributed to him. It's probably why it's not included in canon, because anything that they couldn't confirm that was written by that individual for sure, or something that the church had not already accepted as being, yes, these are what we were already using. It wasn't. that's why, like the Gospel of Thomas, they know it's not Thomas because it wasn't. We don't have. There's not an early copy. I mean, we have the Nag Hammadi library, but in that you have a copy of that, which is a super old copy of it. But the early church fathers referenced all those and said, yeah, they weren't written by them. And so you've got
what
to
I
balance
was
it.
what I was always taught is the Apocrypha you will not see in most current modern day Bibles because the Apocrypha is not considered divinely inspired. Now, in saying that, you will find some Catholic churches that still have the Apocrypha in the
Yes.
Bible in their church.
Yes.
That's a very Catholic thing. Me being a former Catholic turned the former Catholic turned into Southern Baptist, turned into, honestly, I'm just a man who believes in God. So,
Dadgum Southern Baptist. That's my background.
um, but yeah, I'm familiar with the Apocrypha. Is it 4 or 5 books? Five?
I don't know.
I think it's
I'm
five.
from the,
I'd have to look it
yeah,
up.
Catholic Bibles will have it. Protestant Bibles will not,
Correct. Correct.
unless you
Because they're
get
not
the Catholic edition where they'll
exactly.
have that. Yeah. And
Exactly.
so the Book of Enoch is not from the apocryphal writing time frame, that in between the New Testament or the Old and New Testaments, the history that has evolved. But there are some, because it was referenced in the New Testament, and some of the authors, what they did was they said, okay, let's look at that reference and see what is it that the author was trying, the author of that letter, or that even, well, it was a letter. What were they trying to convey when they quoted it? So yeah.
Hmm. Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
Stephen, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for
I
having me. This
loved
is
reading
great.
the book. It was
Thank you.
absolutely phenomenal. It's one I would read again. I am very much looking forward to the sequel. Right now, I believe it's only available on Kofi. Is that correct?
They can get on Kofi. You can do that. It is on the ebook is on Amazon. I went ahead and
Perfect.
released it on Amazon, so you can get it. I did have it as, not only you can get it for $3.99, but also you could even do, if you got Kindle Unlimited, you can read under Kindle Unlimited. The only reason why, as I was telling you guys before, I said the reason you get proof copies, everybody, is because
Yep.
you got to double check and it chopped off thing, and my font is a little smaller than I want it, and so I got to go back and fix all that. So, but that's okay. That's all
Well,
right.
well, in Kofi, Two Geeks and a Microphone again. I talked earlier. That's the podcast that Stephen and Mike do.
Yeah.
Um, the Kofi is there, just like we have our Patreon. They have Kofi, which is
Yeah.
it's similar, but it they take a little less out from their
Yeah.
donation. But I wanted to say with Kofi, you too, for only $1 a month, could be a sponsor of Two Geeks and a Microphone, and it will
And
feed their family for a month. Or for $2, you can give them 2 meals, or three, you can give them three. Sorry, had to do that.
oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Thank you, Sally Struthers.
Right? That's where my brain went back to. Oh my
Um,
gosh, that's awesome.
this book is amazing. Two Geeks
Thank
and a
you.
Microphone. I've talked about it on their show. I've talked about it
Mhm.
on our show. I love their show. I listen to theirs all the time when I work or I'm driving. I've listened to their show from the beginning all the way. I'm not quite current. I'm mostly current because I listened to the last 2 episodes, but I have some ones in between I got to catch up on.
Right.
But
Yeah.
they're a lot of
Thanks.
fun. It's a great
Yeah.
podcast, so much fun. They do some great interviews on their show as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
but Stephen,
Yeah.
great. I love having you as a friend, and absolutely
Absolutely.
love the book. Absolutely
Yeah.
love the book.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Both of you are just great. I mean, I have enjoyed, gosh, 3 years. It's hard to believe it's been,
Almost 4.
oh, for almost
Yeah,
four.
yeah.
Almost four for sure.
Oh, hey, you know
Wow.
what? I do want to say something to you. Shalom, Chavel.
Peace. And I didn't get the other one. Peace.
Chaver.
I don't remember that word
My
now.
Hebrew's terrible. It's friend. It's a little more than friend.
Oh,
It's a little more
thank
than
you.
friend.
Here's, or you can say Shalom Gibor, and that
Gibor.
is peace to my warrior battle friend, my hero.
Gibor.
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 Yeah, those are David's mighty men were referenced as Gibor.
Gibor.
Yeah.
Well, and the last thing I'll say about spiritual sight, and maybe you can use it as a tagline somewhere: faith and fear both demand belief. The choice is yours.
Bum bum
That's
bum.
great. Oh my gosh, that's so good.
Bum bum
I
bum.
I need to pay you for those. Even for the intro was fantastic, and even the byline was great.
I appreciate that. I love doing this kind of stuff, and just writing this kind of stuff because I think it's very important that we highlight especially indie authors such as ourselves. Zig, my hetero life mate down there, he's working on his own book. Um,
Oh, nice.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
in the second draft.
Right
Um,
on, dude.
Second draft.
That's exciting.
I'm still in the process of reading his. I stopped and I wanted to finish Spiritual Insight, and then I'm going back to his, and I'm going to be working on that.
Go to the second draft. It's a little clearer.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, and I'm only up through 14 chapters. It's got like 40 chapters in it. I got to combine some.
I'll go back for that.
I keep going back and forth. That's my problem. Because I got this group over here, and I got this. I got like 100 characters. It's a fantasy novel. You have to have 100 characters.
Ooh.
Well, like I told Zig at one point, I said, dude, you do not have to write the Cimmerillion.
I
It's
did
already been
not.
written. It's already been written.
I did
So,
not. However, there is a page with characters on it
yeah, it needs
because
it
it
definitely
needed
needed
it.
it definitely needed it. It
That's
definitely needed it.
awesome.
But yes,
That's
Stephen, thank
awesome.
you so much for
Oh,
being with us. I appreciate
absolutely.
it.
Yeah,
Please
thanks
go
for
out and check
having
it.
me.
Oh, always happy to have you. Always happy to have you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please go out and check his book. Again, it's on Amazon, or you can go to Kofi if you'd like to feed them for a month. Um,
Yep. And if you just do it for 1 month, you get access to the book, PDF copy of the book,
there you
and
go.
you can any supporters at any time. Yep.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Well, I appreciate all of our listeners for stepping in with us for yet another special episode. I love dropping these in. So much fun to do these kind of things. Just a reminder, you can find us on nerdyandmurdy.com. That's our hub. That's for everything about us. You'll find links to the episode pictures, and you'll also find the link to our YouTube page, which they so often update.
Yeah, we got a lot of cool stuff out there,
Yes, we
especially the
do.
playlists.
Thank you for your work on that.
Thank you, sir.
If you want to show off your Nerdery Murdery fandom, you can go to our merchandise page off of our main page. That's where you'll find things that you can show off to show that you're fans of the show. You can also help out by becoming a patron. The link to our Patreon is on our website, just like we were talking about with Kofi. It's a way that helps out with the costs that are associated with this show. It does cost to keep us on the air from our uploads and our storage and our website and our everything else that goes into this. I promise you, it does not go to our favorite, to fuel our Lamborghinis or our Ferraris or our Porsches or our mansions that we live in. None of those at all. I promise. But we do appreciate each and every one of you.
Please, thank you.
Please and thank you. One thing you can also do that is completely free. You can leave a 5-star review wherever you can. Really helps us, helps others find our content that may be looking for the information we discuss. And last, but certainly not least, because I know he's out there listening somewhere, Chuck, you can go to sleep now.
Good night, Chuck.
Good night, Chuck. With that,
I have been Zig with your nerdery.
and I'm Jeffrey with the Murdery.
Cue the music.